So today we are going to learn how to write a new file. So there are three simple steps. The first thing we need to do is to open a new file. So this is where you will specify the name of your new file and how you want to open it. And the second step is to write into this new file. So this can be any string and it can be any characters long. And last but not least, the third step is to close the new file. We need to make sure we close the new file so everything that we have written into this new file is saved. So first, how do we open a new file? We have to use the open function. Okay. And inside of this open function, we have two arguments. The first argument is going to be the name of the file that you want to create, and the second argument is going to be how do you want to open this new file. So I'm going to call this new file test.txt, and it's going to be a string data type as it is surrounded by quotation marks. My second argument, separated by a comma, is going to be the access mode, or how do I want to open this new file. In this case, I want to open a new file. That means I need to write into this new file. And we use the W access mode to indicate this. I'm going to write a new file called test.txt. So that's what this means. Now once we have this, we will have test.txt, this new file, actually created in our laptops. But first, let's go ahead and save this into a variable. I'm going to call this variable my file, and I'm going to set it equal to open test.txt in the write access mode. So let's see what happens when I run just this piece of code. So first of all, I need to go ahead and save this Python file. I'm going to save it into my documents folder. I'm going to call this test.py. Notice how here in the format you already have .py, so even if you do not have .py, it will automatically save as a Python file. But if you do not have format option, just type in .py. Let's go ahead and run this. So everything completed normally. There are no issues with the Python script. So let's go ahead and see what happened. If you go to your document section, you'll notice that you have your test.py file, your Python script, and you also have test.txt. So this is the new file that we just created. And if you open it, currently there is nothing inside of it. It is empty because we have not written anything inside of it yet. Now let's go back to our Python script. So we've opened the new file. Next, we want to write into the new file. And there's an easy way to do this. This my file variable is actually what we call a file object data type. And like with any data type in Python, file object data types also have methods that we can perform on them. So once I have this, I can use any kind of file object method to manipulate that file object. And in this case, we want to write into this new file. So all I need to do is copy and paste my file variable. And then to use the method in order to write into the new file, we use a method called write. And this write method takes in one single argument, and it has to be a string data type. So in this case, let's say I want to write this is my first file inside of my test.txt file. In order to do that, I can just start with quotation marks to indicate the string data type. This is my first file, end quotation marks. So this is one single string argument, and we have used the write method on this file object data type. So if we ran just these two lines of code, let's see what happens. Save the file. So you ran the script, but now there's still nothing printed here. That is normal. Now if we go to the documents folder and we open this test.txt file, notice how there is nothing written inside of it yet. when we look at our test.py file, we actually wrote this is my first file. So why is it not showing up in my test.txt file? The reason why is because we have not closed this new file yet. Okay, and we want to make sure we close it because that will save whatever we write into the file. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this test.txt file, and let's go ahead and close my new file. The way to close a new file is to just take the variable of the file object that you've just written into, and we can use another method for this file object data type called close. This does not take in any argument, it is just empty parentheses. And once that is done, Python will just close this file and everything that you've written into it will be saved. So let's go ahead and run this one more time. Everything ran smoothly. Now if we check our documents folder, we should see text.txt. If we open it, notice how I have this is my first file written inside. Okay. Now, what should we do if we want to write another line? Or maybe I want to extend this even further. What do I do? Well, let's go ahead and see how we can write into the next line first. So just like earlier, we want to write into this new file that we've just created, but now we want to add another line. Maybe I can say, this is my second line. Now, how do I move my cursor or my arrow into the next line? Well, I can do that using a special Python character called a new line character. And a new line character is just a \n. And what this will do is it will move the cursor at the end of this file word into the next line. So let's see what that means. So if I run this and I save my file, everything ran normally. If I check my test.txt file, let's go ahead and zoom in here. Now let's say I move my arrow keys all the way to the right. After the E, if I click on the right arrow key one more time, notice how it brings me to the next line. And this is because of the \n that I just added in to my write method. Okay. The reason why the arrow key is right here is because of this \n. Right? If I did not have this \n and I ran my script, let's go ahead and close that, run this. Let's check again. Okay. So this is what happens when we do not use the \n. If I move my cursor all the way to the right and I keep pressing the right arrow key, I will not go any further because I do not have a \n. So that is what the new line character does. It adds the next line. And then from there, we can continue typing our second line. Like that. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Everything ran. Also want to make sure we close this test.txt file that we just opened before. Let's go ahead and reopen it. And now you should see this is my first file. And if you keep scrolling all the way to the right, you'll go to this is my second line. Right? And that is how you create a new file, just using these 3 simple steps. First, open the new file using a file name that you create. It does not matter what this file name is. It could be anything, but it has to be surrounded by quotation marks. And we also have an access mode. How do you want to open this file that you've just created? I want to write a new file, so I use the W access mode. There are other access modes like A and R, but we will cover that next time. And then once you're done opening this new file, then you can go ahead and write anything into it using the write method. And the write method, again, only takes in one single string argument. You cannot do a comma here. You cannot have another comma and type this is and so on. It will give you an error if we run this. Right? It tells you write takes exactly one argument, but 2 were given. So we cannot have this. Okay? Only one single string argument. And then finally, we close the new file so that we save all of our changes. And that is it. Before we close this video is to make sure that we understand where Python actually writes this new file. Where in your laptop is this located? Well, this file will always be located wherever your Python test.py file is located. Right now, you can see that it's inside of my users, p-square, u-square, documents, and test.py. So my test.py file is actually inside of my documents folder. And we can see that right here. My test.py is inside of my documents folder, and because it's inside my documents folder, this test.txt that I've just written is also going to be within the same folder. So if we do not tell Python where to specifically write this file, it will automatically just write that into the same folder that your test.py or your Python script, wherever that is located,